So tomorrow night, perhaps more on the line for Eastern Michigan than Toledo as we welcome in Mike Robinson, the sideline reporter for the Rocket Radio Network. Although tomorrow night you're going to be in the booth calling it, aren't you?
Hey, Jack takes a week off and I get the call up, so I'm super excited about this opportunity to call the game for the Rockets.
So the Rockets are bowl eligible.
Yep.
They can perhaps clinch the MAC West with a win, but there's a lot more on the line for Eastern Michigan's only 5-4. They're looking to get bowl eligible.
Yeah, they're trying to get bowl eligible, and they're trying to bust up the Rocket season. Last year, they had the Rockets right where they wanted to, but the nice fourth quarter rally by Tucker Gleason because DeQuan Finn did not play last year in this game. So big win by the Rockets and their reserve quarterback. And so Eastern Michigan, they got a little revenge on their mind.
Perhaps a nice subplot for this game. There's going to be a couple of St. John's Titans going perhaps head-to-head. Of course, we know there's plenty of Titans on the Rockets, but you got Donnelly for Eastern Michigan, who made the big news earlier this football season where he gave up his scholarship so a walk-on could have his scholarship.
Absolutely, and that's just what the men for others at St. John's is about. With the big heart that these guys have, just giving back. And you saw it this summer with Tyson Anderson and the football camp that they did over there at St. John's. It's just what they're about. And it speaks a lot of volumes to it. Him and Dallas Gant, they will go head-to-head at some point in the game. I'll be watching closely to see how that matchup gets. Although it will be a fierce rivalry on the field, but these guys are just big with hearts. Dallas also does a lot of work here in the community, so it's going to be really cool to see.
Rockets are going to be tested by the Eastern Michigan quarterback in this game. Yeah,
and you don't know which quarterback you're going to get. You don't know if you're going to get Udengwu or you're going to get Smith. Smith came in late in the game last game, and then, he's dealing with some injuries. But either way, both of these quarterbacks are explosive. They can run the football really well, and they want to get the ball out to the edges. Toledo's been really stout on the interior, and their defense is just extremely good on the back end. So they want to force this team to pass the football.
Now, we saw against Buffalo, turnovers were a problem. We saw Penny Boone put the ball on the carpet several times. What can the Rockets do to avoid that? Is it a mental thing? Is there something they can actually physically do in practice to really get that message across to protect the ball?
I think the message comes across if you're a running back or you're anybody that's fumbling the ball, it's the next man up. And you can see loss of reps. You can see yourself in a situation that you didn't want to. So it's best to take the Friday Night Lights look and just get the tape and tape it around your arm and just make sure you don't let that thing go anymore. But more importantly, the Rockets definitely got to get a hold of that fumble issue, turnover issue, because giving the ball away to teams, keeping them into the game, whether they're good or not, you're giving teams opportunities where you're losing out on some there. So the Rockets definitely got to take care of the football a little bit more, and especially this week because Eastern Michigan is a scrappy football team defensively.
And I think that's an area of concern because we've seen over the last couple of weeks, UT's been so good in the first half, but they allow teams to hang around in the second half, and those turnovers play a huge part in allowing teams to stay in games.
Yeah, absolutely. And and this Eastern Michigan football team, by any means, they're not any scrubs by any slight. They got a really stout run game. They're going to want to control the clock and slow this thing down. So if you give the ball to them, they're going to exactly try to do that. Take the clock away from the Rockets. Keep DeQuan Finn and Penny Boone off the field. Penny Boone needs 10 yards. He's going to get that so he can get to the 1,000-yard mark, and that's going to be a huge milestone. But for Penny Boone, it's going to be a game where they got to keep the ball in his hands, and defensively, the Rockets got to make sure they step up and play big-time football because Tanner Canoe, he is a guy that can get behind you, kind of like Hassan Beydoun did a couple years ago at the Glass Bowl.
This game at the Glass Bowl, so thankfully we won't be subjected to the gray turf of Ypsilanti. Does that mess you up as much as it messes people up on television?
Absolutely. That gray turf, it's kind of weird, especially when you see it on TV. It really makes your eyes adjust. But when you're down on the field, it messes with your depth perception. I feel like it just kind of gives you this off-putting feel, like you may be closer or further, like the mirror on the side of your car. Objects may be closer than they appear. Type feel. But more importantly, it's football. The yardage is still the same. You got to go out here and still compete. And I like the Rockets uniforms last year out there on that gray turf with that gold and that white.
The one thing I would say, in person, it doesn't look as bad because you see more things than just the gray turf. On television, all you see is that gray turf. It messes with the mind.
Yeah, it just makes you want to smack your TV like you got a TV from the 50s and just try to make sure, is it right, is it correct? But you know what? It's cool out there for Eastern Michigan. The MAC has a lot of different unique things, and the Eastern Michigan Stadium is definitely one of the unique ones here. But again, we're happy that it's here at the Glass Bowl, and the Rockets are looking to protect the Glass Bowl and go undefeated here as well.
Speaking of unique things, Toledo's got the dunk tank. We'll find out on Wednesday if Brian Blair will take a dip in the dunk tank. I want to thank our guest, Mike Robinson. Never afraid to go in the dunk tank, but I think smart enough not to do it in November.
No, I'll leave that to Mr. Blair.